Hello everyone and welcome to your guide to popular builds and Heroes of the Storm. My name is Saren Death and today we'll be checking out Jaina's Frostbite Blizzard build. But before we get into any of that, a quick disclaimer. These guides are not written in stone. They are here to point you in the right direction, but ultimately they are a tool to help you learn the hero on your own. Now we've gotten through that, let's take a look at Jaina. She is a ranged assassin from the Warcraft universe, and she has had a difficult time in recent history. She watched her closest friend turn to darkness. She fought side by side with the forces of Azeroth to stop the Burning Legion from further ravaging the land. And she advocated peace, reason, and diplomacy, only to have her city destroyed by a warmonger. Now she has entered the Nexus, looking to serve up revenge the best way it can be. Cold. Her kit gives her massive burst damage potential with a built-in slow in all of her abilities, making her a powerful ally to have on the battlefield. Before we get into her talent build, let's take a look at her skills. Her trait is called Frostbite. This is a passive that allows your abilities to chill targets hit. Chill slows enemy movement speed by 25%, and amplifies the damage of your abilities by 50% and lasts for 4 seconds. This is the primary source of your burst damage, and having a slow in all of your abilities gives you a lot of flexibility when you're looking at engaging or disengaging from a fight. Her Q is called Frostbolt. This is a 4-second cooldown skill shot that launches a chunk of ice that deals moderate damage and chills the target. This is a pretty standard skill shot that does a decent amount of damage and applies your passive, giving you a chance to follow up with massive burst damage. Jaina's W is called Blizzard. This is a 15-second cooldown AoE skill shot that bombards an area with 2 waves of ice that deal moderate damage and apply chill. To be clear, each wave will apply the chill effect, so if the second wave hits the same target, it will automatically do bonus damage. This is a fantastic ability that can help you quickly clear waves and can do a significant amount of damage in team fights. Her E is called Cone of Cold. This is a 10-second cooldown skill shot that blasts enemies in a cone for moderate damage and applies chill. This is a point-blank ability, so you'll really need to pick the right time to use it, but when added to your combo, you will be able to burst someone down very quickly. Now we've covered her basic abilities, let's take a look at her heroics. Her first heroic is called Ring of Frost. This is an 80-second cooldown AoE skill shot that after a short delay creates a ring of frost at the designated location that deals massive damage and roots enemies for 3 seconds. The ring will persist for 3 seconds afterward, chilling any enemies who touch it. It is important to note that you only deal damage and root enemies on the ring part of the Ring of Frost. This is an incredibly powerful ability that can be difficult to use, but with practice you can absolutely devastate the enemy team. Her second heroic is called Summon Water Elemental. This is an 80-second cooldown that summons a water elemental at the target location. The water elemental's basic attacks deal light damage and splash for 25% damage and apply chill. You can command your water elemental to attack a specific target by reactivating the ability. The water elemental will last for 20 seconds and it can be killed. This ability has seen a lot of changes in past patches, and while it won't do the massive burst damage of Ring of Frost, it is much easier to use and can put out a decent amount of damage over its duration. Now we've covered her base abilities, let's get into the talents. At level 1, you have a choice to make, which really comes down to personal preference. Your first choice is Lingering Chill. This increases the duration of chill from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. That gives you more opportunities to get your burst damage out there, and it slows the enemy for longer. Your other option is Deep Chill. This increases the slow amount of chill from 25% to 30%. A slower enemy is easier to catch with follow-up damage, and will make it more difficult for them to reposition after the fight starts. At level 4, you're going to go with Snowstorm. This increases the radius of Blizzard by 30%. This makes it easier to hit both waves on an enemy, and it can help you hit more people with Blizzard in team fights. At level 7, you're going to take Frostbitten. This increases the bonus damage of Frostbite from 50% to 65%. Essentially, this makes your burst damage hit even harder and further emphasizes hitting enemies with your combos. For Jaina's Heroic, you're going to go with Ring of Frost. This ability may be hard to hit, but with practice, you'll be able to devastate the enemy team with massive burst damage and a 3-second root. It also has the added benefit of applying chill to enemies that move into the area, giving you an opportunity to burst them down. At level 13, you have another choice to make, which mostly comes down to personal preference. Your first choice is Stormfront. This increases the cast range of Blizzard by 100%, basically allowing you to put out more poke damage from a very safe range. Just remember, Blizzard has a fairly long cooldown, so if you are using it to poke, you may not have it for burst damage later on. Your other choice is Ice Barrier. Now when you deal increased damage from Frostbite, you will get a shield for 25% of the total damage dealt. This shield will last for 3 seconds, and will give you a lot of survivability during team fights, taking some pressure off of your support. At level 16, you once again have a choice to make. Your first choice is Northern Exposure. Now enemies that are damaged by Cone of Cold are also afflicted with Vulnerable, increasing damage taken from all sources by 25% for 2 seconds. This will not only boost your own burst damage, but it will also boost the damage of your allies. It can help you quickly take down a high value target. If your team already has a vulnerability, or you just feel like you won't need the added burst damage, then you can go with Snow Crash. This increases the number of blizzard waves from 2 to 3, greatly increasing your damage potential, especially in team fights where you can hit multiple enemies with multiple waves of blizzard. This ability also synergizes very well with the increased radius and cast range talents for Blizzard. At level 20, you again have a choice to make. This choice really comes down to how the game has been going. If the enemy team hasn't been focusing you down, or your team has been able to protect you, then you may want to take Cold Snap. This enhances your Ring of Frost by now making the center of the ring explode after the first ring explodes. This helps you get even more burst damage out there in team fights by reducing the amount of safe area for Ring of Frost. If the enemy team has been jumping on you, or you're just looking at playing safe, then you will go with Improved Ice Block. This is a 20-second cooldown that encases you in ice, placing you in stasis, and making you invulnerable for 2.5 seconds. When this effect expires, nearby enemies will have chill applied to them. It is important to note that while you are in the ice block, your abilities will still cool down. Essentially, this will allow you to prevent a massive amount of damage and give you a chance to either get away from your attackers or turn on them and try and blow them up with burst damage. Jaina's Frostbite Blizzard build is a very strong build that brings massive burst damage with very good AoE damage and great wave clear at level 1. She has OK poke with Frostbolt spam, and she has a slow built into her kit. However, she has no real escape. She has low sustained damage because of the long cooldown on both Blizzard and Cone of Cold, and Ring of Frost is difficult to use and will take some practice. Alright, now that we've gone over all of that, let's go over some quick tips for Jaina. Positioning is very important because Cone of Cold has a very short range. To ensure you'll be able to get the max amount of burst damage, wait for your team to engage, and then go in for the kill. Jaina is also a good flanker, so if you feel confident that your team will support the action, then you can move in from an odd angle and get a lot of surprise burst damage on the enemy team. With that in mind, keep an eye on your ability cooldowns. Jaina does all of her damage from burst, so when your abilities are on cooldown, your damage will be limited. So try and only poke with Frostbolt and save your abilities for when you are certain to hit at least one person with them. Jaina has a variety of ability combos she can perform to get massive burst damage. One example is hit with Frostbolt to apply chill, then cast Blizzard. Before the first wave hits, blast the enemy with Cone of Cold. Both Blizzard waves and Cone of Cold will benefit from the bonus damage of Frostbite, and if the enemy is still alive, you can follow up with another Frostbolt to finish them off. And last but not least, be aggressive in lane, but do not overextend. Your slow will help you get out of sticky situations, but don't count on it as an escape. Also, just because you can instantly clear the lane doesn't mean you should. Unless you're looking at getting some early structural damage, or you've already pushed the enemy back to base, sometimes it's better to just zone them out of gaining experience. You do this by preventing them from getting close enough to the minion wave to soak experience while staying close enough yourself to gain XP. You don't attack the minions, you just let the lane push itself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this guide helpful. If you have any variations or tips for this build, feel free to share them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I will catch you all later.